And we're in Mark Lane. To the left where the car just went is Lichfield Street. These cottages, they've got the cast iron plaques above the doors there. These were here before the canal was built, before Stourport-on-Severn existed. This was Lower Mitten. It's now just part of the town. The canal out towards York Street Lock, and beyond that Stoke-on-Trent. This way is the upper basin, the larger of the basins, Lichfield Basin. This for many years was filled in and was the yard where Larch Snap Fencing made their famous fence panels. To the right there used to be a lock, and we'll show you where that was in a moment. The town centre over there, the upper basin, boat club, and the Tontine has a history on its own. It's a grade 1 listed building. And down there is the River Severn, the side of the Tontine, the Severn ahead, and we come here right into this corner and we see this mystery passage. And we come along this mystery passage, and ahead of us there's a hump, and we wonder why that's there. We'll find out in a moment. But there is the walkway down to the Severn. We'll be going down there in a moment. Meanwhile, back to the hump, and as we come to the top, we see new buildings there, so that'll never be restored. And off down that way was where the lock was, which went to the river. We're now stood on the top of the bridge. Right, down the footpath. Sun's a bit bright today. Around here the lock would have emptied out into the Severn, but there's no trace of it now. Yonder is the bridge that crosses the Severn at Stourport-on-Severn. Ahead of us you've got the Tontine, just behind this building here. And here we've got the Angel, which we came down the side of just a moment ago. This is the front of the Tontine, which fronts onto the river, which is behind me. Coming around, we see one of two locks that goes from the main basins into the river. This is the wider of the two. This will accommodate the Severn Trows. And ahead of us is the lower basin. This is not so much for mooring. Well, these days it's more for maintenance, and I presume it was like that before. This is still the lower basin. There's a dry dock there, and just beyond is the narrower of the locks, so that narrow boats could get out onto the Severn. This is the lower basin, and over there, in the distance, you can see a bridge. And that's where the lower basin goes through a lock that raises it up to the upper basin. And this is the wider locks, so the Severn Trows could come into the upper basin as well. Stourport Yacht Club, not boat club as I said earlier. The buildings higher up there, at the backs of the buildings which front onto York Street. Coming down York Street, at the end is York Street Lock. There's a lockkeeper's cottage, which you can just about see the a gable peak there. And that's the end of Mark Lane, and over there is the bridge that goes through into Lichfield Basin. That way in the blinding sun is the upper basin. The bridge there is the York Street crossing the canal, and of course this is York Street Lock with the lockkeeper's cottage, and we go on up there where the canal is wider because there used to be warehousing on the side there. You can actually see an old crane they used to unload the barges. Anyway, that way is Stoke-on-Trent and the potteries which this canal was built for, transporting of pottery from the kilns in Stoke-on-Trent down here to be switched onto the Severn Trowes to then go on down to Bristol to be loaded on ships, but export to the colonies no less.